Give me about 30 seconds and then we're ready to go. If we're ready, we'll start. Okay, good evening. It is Thursday, August 21st, 2014. This is the monthly meeting of the Beech Grove Redevelopment Commission. It is 7:02. I will start with a roll call, asking our members to the right to introduce themselves first.
Tammy Story, Board of Education, non-voting member.
Janice King, member.
Kathy Chappell, Secretary.
Donald Webb, President.
Mac Bellner, member.
And Ron Mode is absent tonight due to illness. So with that, we're going to go ahead. We've called to order. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to ask for approval of the minutes from the last meeting. Did anybody have any issues? If not, I make a motion to approve last month's meeting minutes, excuse me. Go ahead, tongue twister.
You want us a second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so general discussion of old business. Originally there was a bunch of old business. We're gonna go with the NPR. I got a couple things I'd like you guys to grant approval on or vote. The first one you see is a pay agreement, which I've handed out, and I'll put a copy out there. I've discussed this with Robert. There's a couple of questions on this left for us, but basically what I'm going to ask for is your approval after Robert and our lawyers approve this to go ahead and sign it. This is basically setting up the payment of the Brownfields grant that'll be going. They should start actually moving dirt next week on the rock pile, so that's a positive. But we've got this one, which I'd asked for, and then I'm not sure where I put it, but I had it. There's another one. It is basically a follow-up to the donation agreement. I will hand that around too. They have drawn it up, and Robert has looked at it as well. And I just made two copies because I was going to have one for us. But basically, it's just, if you want to see this, Mac, it's right here.
Oh, thank you.
Basically, it's just an agreement that we're reaffirming that, yes, we are donating the land. And it's,
A little late to do that, don't you?
and, well, it's funny because it's almost like, you know, when you go to close on your home and they need a credit card statement from August of something so they can prove an account's closed. It's almost what it feels like with this group, but these are things that are necessary. Their lawyer drew it up. Our lawyers reviewed it and said that one's okay, and then we'll review this other one, but the pay agreement will probably be sometime next week. But I just wanted to go ahead and get approval from the board for signing these two documents as president. So.
Also, the consent to proceed, that we should get approval.
And there's a third one? I think that's the one I may be talking about.
Maybe.
Consent to proceed, yeah.
Yes, that's the one, I'm sorry. Yeah, so that's basically letting them know that we're still on board, I guess. Would that be correct, Robert?
This one is basically consent to actually move dirt and put their heavy machinery on and do some work, actually.
Right, because we still technically own the property, right? Okay, so that's why they want that, because we still technically own it, so we have to give them permission. Thank you for correcting me.
So do you want a motion to that effect?
I think yeah, first one, I'd like a motion for the consent to proceed with the worksite agreement.
So move.
All in favor?
Wait,
We have to second.
Oh, second?
I'll second,
Okay.
or whoever.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye as well. Opposed? Okay, so that one we will get signed. The next agreement would be the payment agreement. I would ask for a motion to be authorized to sign this once our attorneys approve it and say we're good to go, which that way we don't have to call a special meeting. It should be sometime in the next couple of weeks. I'd ask for a motion to have the authority to sign that on your behalf. Second?
second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. So those two we will set up, and that should conclude NPR. There was a proposal for some groups, three individuals were going to come to us tonight with a proposal for the building west of St. Francis, that office building where the gerbil tube goes over. They have indicated that they are all three sick and did not want to jeopardize our health by coming. Keep in mind, this is now the second month they have decided to have something happen or could not attend, so I will be getting back with them and letting them know that before we will let them speak at the next meeting, I would like PDFs of their proposal, and because they supposedly were making up packages to present to us. So I'm going to ask for a digital package of that at least 2 weeks prior to them wanting to present if they're serious. Because if they're serious, I want to see it before they do it.
Good idea.
So that, right. Let me see here. I'm going to do the update on Wi-Fi, then we'll go to Frank. We've pulled down all of the Wi-Fi. They got 86 units. They didn't, the other 6, they were somewhere out behind City Hall. They were told not to touch them, so they just left them. But basically, Digital City is down. They have removed the number of polls we had on the first PO. I drew up a PO for the second one, which we had approved, and they're going to start working on those. So we might have one final PO because they found an additional 40 polls. So we had approved enough money to pay for the removal of 30. But there might be one more PO that comes in the September meeting to remove the final 10. And then once we do that, they'll be down. One thing I talked with Lynn about is we got these high-speed, like, data Wi-Fi units that one of them was like, on the bill was like $6,000 or $7,000. But they're gonna have to have this group, and I sent a message to them asking them to call me, and they haven't called yet. But it's gonna require people with specialized talent to climb these tall towers to get them off. And my thoughts are, Lynn said these would be of value to the city and that they would boost, almost quadruple their internet access and speed of their internet. It might be worth it to get them down, but if it's like there were 5,000 or 6,000, it's going to cost us 8,000 to get them down. I'd just say leave them.
Right.
So that's kind of where we are with that. But we got our last bill as far as IPL to pay, and it was only $194 for half month. So there's no more IPL bills coming. So that's to me good news. So the project that never worked is now completely out. So with that, we'll pay the bills here in a little bit. But did anybody? We were going to follow up with Frank. And did anybody have any questions or thoughts on the workshop Saturday? I know Janice wasn't able, but everybody else was there, and it was really well attended.
It was really good.
So, you have anything to add, Frank, since you're here?
Yeah. Frank Nierwicki, Nierwicki Governmental Consulting. Basically, I promised on Saturday I would come back and actually give you the folders. I actually had printed up copies of the Speedway redevelopment plan, so you have a copy of that also tonight. I picked up one of the wrong group of handouts to come in today. So next time, I'm going to hand out the your copy of the redevelopment plan, that 2007, I believe, draft copy to Okra. I'll give you copies of that also at the next meeting. Janice, we missed you, and we're thinking of you when last week. But the issue on this was that we went ahead. The materials are in your notebook, so we went ahead and reviewed the all 52 pages of the Indiana Code. No, we didn't do that. They would have been asleep, even with coffee. But I did give some background information. There's some information I added from some attorneys and also Umbaugh, the financial consultants, so there's some ideas in there. There's also at the very end, I believe there's an item from Monroe County Redevelopment Commission. They actually have a form to fill out, and this goes right along with Don's comment about having things at least 2 weeks before you actually review them and actually approve them, is Monroe County actually has a form. They have to fill out certain things and submit that to the Redevelopment Commission before you even consider going ahead and approving their project. So that's something to think about also. I am going to be working on the final report to the Plan Commission, or to the not Plan Commission, Redevelopment Commission, and I'll have some copies also for other city leaders. So is there any questions for me right now?
No enough to ask you anything yet.
The 3 hours did go by fairly quickly,
Very quickly.
so thank you.
Okay, I guess we can knock this one out real quick. We have got one voucher for paying $24,761.94. I will go over what each one is real quick. We start off with Lewis and Caps, $24, $44.80, and then $52. And then Jackson Lewis is $5,096. That's our attorney. Peters Municipal Consultants, $1594.30. They were doing work for us as far as getting that one report that we had missed in March. They got it filed, and they've worked with Robert and taken care of some other stuff that we needed to get up to date as a board on. Hull and Associates, $86, $88.19, and $1493.75. Those were for the borings this spring to clear that lot. Again, those two there, I anticipate the developer paying us back for those, and that's what we've worked on. Lewis and Caps was another $48.36.20 and $364 even for theirs, for a grand total of $24,761.94. So those are our bills. Are there any objections, or anybody want to talk about them? Any feelings? I need a motion to approve to sign.
Make a motion to approve.
I'd ask for a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that pretty much sign info from Janice. Have we got anything?
We do, a little bit.
I knew we would.
I've kind of put this, I put a little thing together, but it's not completely done.
That's fine.
So here's one for you. Here's one for you. Dennis, I have one for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is sort of a rough draft, but at least it gets us started. And what I'm trying to do, if you'll go through here, is I'm trying to use examples inside of Beech Grove that gives a good example of signage so that people can actually go visit and see what I'm looking at or what we're looking at. And I think that the citizens of Beech Grove would be flattered that they're in our signage criteria as well. Some things are very hard for me to find, so I'm still going around and looking, so it's not totally complete. A couple things I need to put in here. I don't know of any ordinance information that we have yet, or have we written an ordinance about it, because it needs to be included in this sign package. And number two, we need to put an application in to see when somebody is going to apply for their signage, do we want to charge a fee for that? And when we look at it, could it be $250? That should be noted on an application that they fill out and return with the drawings or whatever for their signage that they're proposing. So those are a couple things we need to think about before I finish putting all of this together.
We are currently going through the BCA. We are updating the fees for that, and right now, it doesn't call for a fee for sign. But it can, because it's going up for third and final reading. It's September the 2nd. And what would need to happen would be one of the council people would have to make an amendment to the ordinance.
And it's whatever anybody wants, but I just need to know what I need to do correctly to be included in here. So if you tell me with the council how you want this done, then I will put an application in with this package as well. And then I would also like you to look at the descriptions, because I put pictures in the back, sort of like a glossary.
Now, are these good pictures or bad pictures?
Those are good pictures.
So everything in here would be a sign and a place that we'd find inviting.
Yes.
Okay.
But if you don't like them this large, or if you think this is too thick of a packet, I could take smaller versions and put it on the description page and put like 3 examples so that it's not as large. Totally up to you, because eventually, I mean, I made these copies, but somebody else is gonna have to print these, because I can't,
I
you know
understand.
what I mean? So you just have to let me know what you want. Some of these are still not filled out yet, because I'm having trouble finding acceptable signage. And sometimes when I do find acceptable signage, there's so much stuff in the window with stuff taped, and so I can't make the picture clear enough, so I'm still looking. But we've got some pretty good examples in here right now. So you have to tell me what you want.
The way I've,
You don't have to decide today.
right, well, I guess in general conversation, the way I've understood it is, the Beech Grove Redevelopment Commission, if we go ahead and do a grant, say we do a grant for 25,000 for signage on Main Street, we can set up the terms of how that signage is supposed to look and how it's supposed to be maintained. And that we don't necessarily, I mean, we have to follow, you know what I mean, the zoning laws and stuff like that as far as it goes in rules and regulations, but, you know, we can make our criteria tighter. You know,
It's
I
up to
get.
everybody else.
I mean, I don't know, I guess I'm not sure where we should go with this next step, because I mean, to me, the next step would be, we probably need to see if we can get a bunch of the Main Street folks to come to a meeting and ask them what their thoughts are.
A question. The pictures that are in here, are those pictures of signs that are already acceptable or signs you would want to change?
No, it's not fair to put those out to the public of something that's not acceptable. These are signs that are acceptable.
Okay.
And even the ones that are acceptable, they may want to get grant money and get even better signs, but
Now, we had talked to Bob about that a little bit, but I think we need to work with you on figuring out how to do that legally right. And then we probably need a submittal process for if they want money, they have to submit what they want to do before we'll help them out.
Yeah, I think you need to do that. Obviously, you need to determine how much money will be available in the fiscal year. And maybe a range of possible grants per owner that applies. You could limit it by the number of applicants on a first come, first serve, or you could have a submittal date, and then you look at all the submittals and decide which ones to award based on your budget. But you want to avoid the business owners thinking that it's somehow unfair or stacked or.
Right, and then, there are some sign companies out there that will charge an arm and a leg for the same thing that somebody else wouldn't charge as much for. So we might want to go into partnership with a couple sign companies that are willing to help the tenants and, so we know that they're not going to be overcharging them because they have a feeling they're going to get some money from us, and so they can get more for,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Can we do that? Can we have 3 companies that we are approving? Or can we do that?
We can come and have them make,
Yeah, they could make
I guess,
offers to
I guess my
bids.
thought is, I don't see anything wrong with that, but I guess my thought is, we've got the September meeting, we should go ahead and maybe, I don't know if you hand them out or we mail them out, but we should contact all the businesses on Main Street and invite them to the, I think it's, what is it, September, whatever it is, September 18th meeting.
I don't know if I can have this, all
Well,
this
you don't have to
done
have
that
it
day.
done, but what I'd like is, I'd like to have the business owners here and get input from them, like, hey,
I agree.
if the Beech Grove Redevelopment Commission would go in half with you up to $2,500 for a new storefront and signage, would it be something you, members of the business community, would be interested in? And I mean, if we put it out there in paper, and if nobody shows up, or if the people that do show up say, nah, if you're gonna do this, I'm not interested in it, then, you know what I'm saying?
I
But-
would not give them a dollar amount.
Well, even not giving them a dollar amount, but I mean, I think we need to see what interest there is too. Because I hate for you to keep doing all this and then find out that none of them want to do it.
Well, but the
And I don't
thing
know what
is,
their
if it's an
landlords are.
ordinance, somewhere along the line, you've got to clean it up.
Right.
So,
Well, I mean,
you've got to tell them that what they have in some instances is no longer acceptable, whether they like it or they don't.
I guess my thought though is it would be good to get interest or input from the businesses and see where they are. I agree with you. And,
I mean, I don't see a problem asking them to come, absolutely. But the ones that have the unacceptable signage are going to be the ones that don't want to change anything.
right, and that's what I'm saying. Let's see what type of resistance or feedback we get from them. Because if they're really hostile and resistant, they may be hostile and resistant when the mayor and the city council propose your ordinance. And I mean, let's see where we are with them is my thought. 'Cause
Well,
I think
maybe
you're
we
doing a
should've
great
done that
job,
to
but
start.
But what if we did it from the opposite end? What if we had the entire proposal put together and then had a meeting where it was, hip hip hurrah, this is what we're gonna do for you?
well, we can
As
either way. I
more
just
of a
throwing that.
positive
That's
spin
fine.
Then are you guys going to resist this? Don't you think?
Well, but we're sort of at an impasse here because we can't, Janice can't move ahead to complete her packet until these couple of other things are in gear.
Right?
What is involved with passing an ordinance? That's not something that can be done overnight, I'm assuming.
Well, what you have to do is, I'll write the ordinance, but you have to tell me what you want in the ordinance. Because I don't know. Once you figure that out, then we'll sit down and write the ordinance, and then I'll introduce it to the council.
In terms of ordinances, though, I think the ordinance may be the floor in terms of the quality that you're looking for. The grant might be for encouraging, incentivizing
Right.
better than what the minimum requirement is.
Mhm.
But then you have the issue of the landlords, and I'm not sure what latitude the various business owners have. Some probably have a lot more latitude than others.
Right.
I think you'll get them to do it, if the ordinance is in place. The enforcement is already in place because the compliance people will enforce the
Right.
ordinance. So that's already there. You just have to come up with what you would like to see. Now, Janice said something a couple of meetings ago that I agree with, is why stop at the awnings or the signs? Why don't you do the showcase?
The store
I
windows.
absolutely agree.
Oh, we talked about color too, building colors. Doesn't that make sense to select different colors that we think they can use? Because some of their signs would maybe depend on what colors.
Well,
I
I
mean,
guess you
it's-
can do that, but that's a complete redesign package, which is more than just signage. I mean,
Right.
so
It
maybe you
is,
want to
and-
have a sign ordinance, and then maybe you want to have,
Start out slowly instead of trying to
Start out
slam with
slowly.
everything, yeah.
because there may be some landlords or people who own the buildings who won't let them paint. That might be one. We may have to, like, figure out how they did that. I mean, we can look at what other cities did to,
That's what I was gonna ask. Do we
start that.
have samples? Is it possible to get hold of copies of such an ordinance from other cities to see what they?
This is based on Carmel, isn't it?
It's based on Carmel.
Yeah, I looked at that this afternoon.
Yeah.
It was really well done.
Yeah, it's
document.
very
I
well
haven't
done.
seen Your document yet.
That's why I stole some of it.
And Zionsville had their grant program was for building fascia.
Mm-hmm.
And they had standards and they were trying to incentivize opportunities.
Because we had also talked about, at some point in time during during the seasons in the summer, maybe having some sort of planters out, if, the tenants wanted to pay for that addition to add some color on the street. I mean, there's a whole plethora of things you can do. It's the levels that you want to go and how far you want to push it, but, I think we're
like-
just at the bare minimum right now, so they need to see what this can do for them before they're gonna be willing to take the next step to see what else you can do for them.
Because you were talking about Main Street, and to me, also that Emerson, especially that Churchman Plaza over there
Oh,
with
yeah,
the
it's
flea
terrible.
market and stuff like that. I mean, that's a place that definitely needs some regulation, signage, and compliance. Frank, would we benefit from waiting for your report before we do this?
It's really kind of outside the scope of what I'm supposed to be doing.
That's why I'm asking, I'm
Yeah.
not sure.
It probably won't make a difference.
Sounds fair.
It's all right.
Don, one other thing, I don't know, and it might be kind of what maybe Mac is thinking is, you don't need to get necessarily all the business owners here to give their input, but the Beech Grove Greater Chamber of Commerce, is there a group that represents those folks that you could give
Right.
some leaders at least
Sure.
to talk with them about the landlord issues and what they're able to do if they don't own their own, and I assume that most of the folks don't own their own buildings.
Probably not.
Tom Keeley is on the chamber board. I'm a member of the chamber, and the chamber president now is housed in our Hornet Enrichment Academy within that building, so we can make that connection for you pretty easily. Maybe you can come make a presentation to the chamber, what you're thinking. That would give you some feedback, and these are all Beech Grove and Beech Grove area merchants. Some have places right here on Main Street, some have down Emerson, so you just want a feeling tone for where you're going, they might be able to give us some insight also.
That would be
So you
excellent.
wouldn't have to ask the extra meeting, just come to the chamber meeting and, send me an email and I can get Tom to set that up and get you on the agenda.
You know, and maybe we could also say that we're trying to improve our signage criteria. And we can give this to the merchants and say, like, the first 3 that are willing to work with us to be a guinea pig will, help pay 40% as long as we approve your signage or whatever, and maybe they'd be willing to do something. I mean, there are probably people up there who don't know how to do it. And so they just
Absolutely.
put something up because it's all they knew.
Well, I'm talking to some of the merchants, the thing I hear is high rent, and it's all they can do to put something up.
And that's very true too.
So, I think that's an excellent idea. I think we should probably, I don't know when their next meeting is, if it's before ours or not. I'm not putting you on the spot, but,
No, it was last Thursday, so it'll be a month from last Thursday.
Okay.
so, and in the meantime, either we could take September or October's meeting, once we meet with them, and we could ask businesses or put that out there and bring them. Because, I think that's the thing, is if you get them to show up, we'll get some input, and you may get some enthusiasm out of it to where they'll actually help you and work with you on,
Right, because we know this isn't gonna happen in the next 2 or 3 months.
No,
and
I mean,
it's
I
gonna take a
think-
while, but
well, and we know it'll take at least 3 readings or 3 months for an ordinance
Sure.
to even be
we'll
approved, so.
probably start next spring maybe. if we
Right, and
do
I would make that I look at the signage thing as a 2015 goal. But, to get there, we have to start now, so.
Sure.
So if we were gonna have this package complete to present it to, we wouldn't have the ordinance complete, but we could have a rough draft, couldn't we? But it'd be waiting for approval?
No, you have a rough draft and we would put it in ordinance form.
That's what, I would like to be able to include that in this packet, and then I need you to tell me if you want to charge an application fee, what that fee would be, and if we want to put an application in here with the packet, and then how you want the pictures done.
The application fee,
It could be $100. It could be anything.
probably, the council would have to authorize that. I can't do that.
What
And-
would be the advantage of having an application fee?
Well, let's say this, let's say that the application fee is $250, but once the sign goes up and we approve it, they get their money back.
What about an unsuccessful applicant? What would be your thought on returning?
Well, sometimes, I work with tenants all the time who send things in that won't work. It's our job to help them figure out what doesn't work and what would work. I think that's our job.
So you're saying, what then would we say to an applicant whose proposal isn't accepted for the grant?
You tell them that that what you have submitted does not meet our criteria. And here are some suggestions for what you could do, and then they can go back and have it redesigned.
And still use their initial 250 application fee or
But you're
whatever
not,
it is?
you have, they can continue to keep that on. You're not gonna take $250 from them every time they bring it in, you know what I mean?
Okay.
That wouldn't be fair to them.
Does there come a point at which it is never acceptable and we give them the $250 back?
There could.
I think our goal is to work with businesses in the community and to engage and invest in them
Sure.
and promote them. That's the goal of the redevelopment commission. So, I understand what she's saying. I don't want it to be punitive, but to me, 250 at least gets their attention and make sure they're gonna do something right, or,
Sort of like a security deposit.
right. To me, it's kind of like, don't come up here with a tarp with Jim's big tattoos on it and think we're gonna approve it, because it's not gonna happen. And by making them put $250 up, yes, it adds thank you, Frank, that's what it is. It adds hey, we gotta be somewhat serious, because otherwise we're gonna lose 250.
And it is refundable.
Right.
Once the sign goes up and, they've done their due diligence and they did what they promised in their application, then they get their money back.
This is one thing you could have it also is whatever you want to put as the fee, is that if you get rejected the first time, maybe you get the second time, you could redo it the next cycle, and then they could possibly correct whatever was wrong, and then be able to get, be accepted.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't take money from them twice.
And some applicants might get turned down not because their proposal wasn't acceptable, but because you had reached your
but that's true as far as giving them money, but we still could go through and approve what they're going to do. Yes, sir.
Are you gonna have a rolling cycle, or are you gonna do it all at one time? Because if you did it, monthly, if people, towards the end of the cycle will run out of money. If you put it as a one deadline for the season, then everyone will be in together, they'll be judged together.
But I don't think we've thought about that. I think you're a little ahead of us, but not to say that we wouldn't do it that way.
Well, if
Good
we
thought.
if we're budgeting, if we start budgeting, which was another topic we had, if we set out 15,000 a year, early bird gets the worm, If we get 20 merchants in here and they use up the grant money by February, hey, we don't have a lot of merchants. It's not like we're talking, 75, 80 businesses. We're talking, what, maybe 25, 30 at the most. So I don't anticipate us, like all of a sudden, boom, we're out and, people are coming in June or July. I think, again, through meeting with the Chamber of Commerce and getting the word out there, we're gonna do this, that people who are serious and really wanna do this, they're gonna get their ducks in a row and be ready when the time comes. And those, that's just how it works in business.
Okay, well, here's what it seems to me, that if I were a merchant with a business there, I think that it would be much more palatable to me to deal with this and get involved in this if it's presented to me like the city council has passed this ordinance and we are here to help you comply with the ordinance, to help fund your attempts to meet what this ordinance requires. So it seems to me that we need to get this ordinance in place first. Is that not what should happen?
We do need to have the ordinance with this.
So then we need to be looking at wording then. We need to decide what we want ours to say, and I would prefer that we not just completely copycat other places. Beech Grove is unique. I would like for, I'd like for our wording to be something unique to our situation here, so.
Well, there's only so much uniqueness you can do for signage. An ordinance is an ordinance, and,
Well, then, do we
The
have a
sign
copy of
criteria
the one
is
from
gonna be-
Carmel here?
pardon me?
Is there a copy of the ordinance from Carmel?
I don't have it. I'm sure that we could find something. Or we could do it from another city that has, Fountain Square may have an ordinance.
We can probably get those online. What we do have, for example, and I think it's what Janice, Carl, Beech Grove draft, is there are examples of acceptability. It's not an ordinance, but it's
Yeah.
it's a packet that shows every type of sign you can imagine and what's acceptable, height, width, depth.
Yeah.
And these are
And then
pretty
they cite
simple
the
signs.
ordinance. For each example, they cite the code provision in the Carmel ordinance.
Right.
If you come into City Hall tomorrow for a sign permit, you come in, you do the application, and then you leave a copy or blueprint or copy of what you want to have on your building. The building commissioner reviews it, and then if he approves it, he issues the permit. If he doesn't approve it, then he does not issue. That's how it works today.
Honestly, I can't imagine that he's not approving anything,
Well-
seeing some of the signs that are up there.
Yeah, how is it that they're just throwing mishmash stuff up then?
Yeah.
And
Banners and whatever.
The ultimate control comes from downtown with DMD. They're the one who, and if it doesn't meet the county criteria, then you have to get a variance for your sign. That's how that works.
I guess my thought is
It's very convoluted.
I struggle with the idea of us just throwing an ordinance in and saying, here it is, take it. I desperately think we need to get with the Chamber of Commerce and set that up. We can all go, or you can present, Janice, I'm happy to, I'll go, I don't mind.
Oh, no, I
And,
agree.
and
I think,
before we go and ask the mayor to put an ordinance out there, I want to get feedback from a lot of the businesses on why they would A, like it, B, not like it, what they'd like to see in it, because our goal shouldn't be to say, well, this is the way we want Beech Grove. Our goal should be to say, we want Beech Grove to be better, and we want you to be our partners and help us do it. And I mean, I don't want to turn businesses off to where they're like, that little Beech Grove, they just pass these things, they never talk to you about it, they want your money, this and that, and I don't want that hostile. I want to be able to work with them and have it out there. So I understand the getting the ordinance, and we should do that, but before we do anything like that, I think it's our duty to talk to the Chamber of Commerce, as, Dr. Kaiser's talked about, and yes, we're gonna do the ordinance, but let's get their feet in too, because there may be
can't we-
things we haven't thought about.
Can't we do several things at once instead of
Oh, I
doing
agree, yes.
one step this month, one step next month? Could we work on the ordinance while we're talking to the people downtown, while we're trying to finish this, so that maybe we could get something
Oh,
rolling
absolutely, and to
sooner?
your point on the ordinance, Janice, it'd be great if we met with the Chamber of Commerce, told them what we were thinking, maybe got some feedback, and then maybe either in, say, the September or October meeting, we invite the businesses, we have the ordinance in place, this is what Mayor Buckley is gonna present at the November 3rd city council meeting for first reading. Here are copies of it, what do you what do you folks think about it? And you may get like, hey, we like this, but there's this one provision here, and it's gonna hurt me, and this is why it's gonna hurt me.
Sure.
To where then we can say, okay, well then let's change that, but
Right.
I don't wanna go and say, hey, here's this, deal with it.
And I don't think we were ever talking
Yeah, I
about
mean, I'm
doing it
just-
that
No,
way.
I
I'm
just
saying?
think we
I-
need to have a completed packet before you start.
Right.
Yeah, so I
Talking to
just wanted to have an idea.
No, I agree with you. Let's get working on all of it, but, so can you work with Dr. Kaiser and just let me know or let us know and when we can, and see if because he obviously knows, Tom Keeley.
Okay, well, once again, do you want an application fee or you don't want an application fee?
I don't think it's a bad idea.
What do you want to charge?
I think 250 refundable upon approval of the signage, approval and installation of the signage.
Approval and
Upon
installation.
completion.
Yeah, well, that's me. If what they do, we approve it and they put it up for what they said and it's right, then they get their 250 back.
Yes, sir.
I just sent Tom Keeley an email requesting someone to present on September 11th, which is the next chamber meeting.
Okay.
So
Where do they meet at?
they meet at the Hornet
Okay.
Community Center 99% of the time.
What time?
Pardon me?
What time is that meeting?
11:30, they start at noon.
Oh, it's during the day.
11 faithful.
And then do you like the pictures in the back? Would you
I
prefer
do.
to have smaller versions, or do you like the glossary sort of, and I'll make it more clear, so to speak?
I think it looks great the way it is, Jan.
Everybody like it? You like it?
I mean, and we're not talking like we're gonna have to make 200. Sorry.
Yeah, we'll have to take it to Kinko's or
Kinko,
something.
Yeah.
Do you like it? Okay, I want to make sure everybody likes it before we, okay,
I mean, yeah, I think it's good to have the pictures.
okay. But you don't want them along the bottom of the page, like where the description is? We could put small versions under like channel lettering, which is simple individual lettering going up on the front. You could put 3 little pictures there, or we can have the glossary in the back. Do you like the bigger or the smaller?
Well, I think it's wonderful to have big pictures, but I'm looking at the amount of paper in this packet. And if we're gonna have them available for our business owners to peruse, we're gonna have to have numerous copies, and I think that we could go with smaller pictures just to save some space.
Want to talk about it?
No,
Okay.
louder, I said,
Talk louder.
because we've kind of like covered it and she can't hear us.
Oh,
Another thing too we could do, Janice, is scan them and turn it into a PDF.
oh, yeah, we can.
Everybody's got email and
Yeah, we
everybody's
could
got,
do that. Because
Acrobat.
I've got it all on a
That'd be a great
PowerPoint.
idea.
Love
Yeah,
it.
and there again, if we can, work and figure out who the businesses are, we could be sending this out to them as, hey, this is what we're looking at.
So,
You could do the whole process online,
Yeah.
Sure.
application and everything.
so do you want me to continue to use the bigger pictures with the larger packet and it's PDF?
Yeah, if you put them in
Okay.
PDF form, absolutely, because again, I think it gives people an idea of what
Okay.
we like and if there's a business up there that doesn't see their picture in there, maybe they realize they're what we don't like.
I may not be able to use everybody as an example, but I will try
Yeah.
to use like businesses on Emerson. As a matter of fact, you see I have Pizza Hut and,
Right.
I can't remember who else I put in here that's got the roof signs, so I'll try and keep it around here. So, At least it's not, we're not going up to, you know, Castleton and using mall signage or
Right.
something. Okay,
And the ordinance,
we'll have to, do
Review.
you wanna work on that, Bob? You want me, I can go look it up, what theirs says. I can give you the wording and then we can come back. I'll do that. I'll look at the ordinance, what they say. I'll send it to you guys. We can all get everybody's opinion. We'll
Right.
change it and then we'll forward it to you and you. That work?
You're talking about Beech Grove ordinances or the Carmel ordinances?
I'll look at the Carmel ordinances and see if we can change them to be more for us. Cause we're not gonna be so, I'm sure theirs is more rigid. I haven't even looked, but I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And I'll see if I can find some ordinances from others, like Zionsville might have one, and,
I think we may have printed that out, but Manny did some research into Zionsville's, so maybe we can put Zionsville's.
Zionsville's would probably be better, because to me, Zionsville's a little more like Beech Grove than Carmel is.
I think so too.
well, if you go downtown Carmel, a lot of their signage is very simple.
Right.
Old Town Carmel is probably fairly simple.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Old
it's
Town
simple.
Carmel. But I'm just thinking, because Carmel's gotten so big and complicated, that their ordinance, you know what I mean, you might have to try to dig and pick more out of it, where
Maybe so.
Zionsville's might be more simple and straightforward.
well, even Fountain Squares would be
Fountain
more
Square's another
similar
one.
because, and they're already
Marion County.
Marion County, so, yeah.
Okay, I'll see what I can find.
The only other thing I really had for tonight that I wanted to discuss is, it was brought up that the Redevelopment Commission is supposed to have a yearly budget. And we haven't had that, so, just getting your thoughts in mind, what we're gonna need for next month is, we've obviously got the sign project we're going forward. We'd have to figure out what to budget for legal bills, and when I look at our budget, I mean, I don't think it has to be to the penny, but we need to say, hey, we're planning on spending $25,000 in legal bills this year, we're gonna spend $35,000 in signage. If we win the St. Francis appeal, there may be a line in there that we're gonna give X amount of money back to the school, you know, for the overpay to the RDC from 2009 to 2012.
Speaking of school, they got their permits for the sign.
I heard.
And so, if we wanna donate to that,
If he'll give us a number that he would like donated, we will.
Well, first of all, how about if I come and bring you pictures of the sign?
fabulous.
We'll get that, and I'll come back the next meeting. and
It'll be $250 and you could submit your signage
There
criteria.
you go.
You take credit card, check.
And one thing we had talked about, and I would still be interested in, is, I don't know how we can do it, but you'd mentioned the Huntington sign. I would like to seriously figure out a way that we could get another sign for the high school up on Emerson Avenue, a nice sign that would also have Beech Grove Community News on it as well. I think that would be excellent. For people who didn't know, like say the high school, the Hornets are playing Friday night, you know, Beech Grove versus, you know, X, Friday night at 7 o'clock or whatever. I mean, I think that would be something that'd be nice along, Emerson Avenue as well. And again, I'd like the RDC to work with the school and maybe see if that can happen, because I think it just helps.
Right, we have a sign guy that works with us, I can get him on that. Actually, I'll have Steve Baer get him on that right away, because, the idea of the sign is just providing communication. And this is my 7th year, and I've been dogged about getting that sign taken care of by community members, city council members, and we're grateful. We're gonna have this one up and running by Christmas time, and I think that's, next month, the high school would be.
All right. If we can find out what it costs to put a sign on Emerson Avenue, again, that's something we could put into the budget. And I think it's, like I said, I think it's something that would enhance the whole community. I think it'd be well worthwhile.
It's a gateway to Beech Grove coming from,
That's exactly what I think when I drive that way, if I have to go down to Huntington to get cash or whatever, it'd be nice, as a matter of fact, I got cash the other day and I looked at that Huntington sign, I said, yeah, wouldn't it be nice if there was a nice big digital sign, that had what's going on in Beech Grove, time, temperature, what sporting events, hey, the girls won the county at volleyball or something like that, city council meeting tonight. I think that would just, again, I think it's a good idea.
but then you got them really booking, you got them coming in this way, you got them coming in this way.
Exactly.
Our goal is to put one at every building.
Well, and, you know, again, if we find out, you know, I don't have a problem, I don't know how these guys feel, but again, partnering with the school to, and, because to me, those are enhancements of Beech Grove.
Well, even if we did one a year, say
Yeah.
if we budgeted
Sure.
as this, under 10,000 or something like that, does it have to be non-approved? Or is that
Well,
not count?
that's different.
Oh, it is,
If
okay.
we're giving money to the schools, I don't think that counts. If we're hiring somebody to do
Oh, I
something.
gotcha.
Like if we were buying and putting up the sign ourselves, then I think it falls under that city ordinance.
Gotcha.
And the other thing I was gonna throw out is, I also was gonna reach out again to the Parks Department and see if there was any special wants or needs that they were looking at for 2015. That, you know, because we're Greenway, so they're part of it, that, you know, would they want help on, or is there something they'd want to bring to us with help? You know, trying to, again, engage the different areas of the city and make us work better together. I guess I would ask the mayor too, is there gonna be road projects that he might think are worthwhile for the RDC in 2015, and an idea of what they would cost? So, you know, if we can, I don't know when, I'll have to check, I don't know when we're supposed to provide a budget to the city. Is there a certain date for that, Robert, do you know?
I don't know.
I know we've never,
I might suggest that you submit it in rhythm with the city budget. The city budget has to be adopted by the end of October.
yeah, so we definitely would need to do a little bit of homework and probably come up with a rough estimate. The October meeting, we could actually put it up there, but Frank brought it up, and I think it's just good planning for us, because a lot of,
You have a public hearing on before that.
Our first reading of our budget is September the 8th, and then we'll approve our budget on October the 6th.
but our budget doesn't have to be included in yours, does it?
No, it just,
The council should be approving that.
We used to have a spreadsheet that had our budget on it. Do we still have a spreadsheet?
New legislation that common council should approve.
you already see that? Is that right?
So, I'm sorry, say that again.
Under the new legislation that passed last year, the common council should be approving the RDC budget.
Okay. Yes,
Can I, since I'm pretty good at Excel spreadsheets, and so you don't have to pay someone else, I'll be glad to work with you on, put it in a format. I do Excel spreadsheets in my sleep, and I'm not trying to influence the budget, but, you know,
Emails in his-
just to help with it, I'll be glad to do that.
The other thing, you could look at other cities and towns with their other redevelopment commissions, what they have as an example.
Yeah, I have a friend that's on the RDC in Southport. Maybe I can get a copy of their most recent. We can
Well, it
use it
should
as
be
guidance.
online.
I can probably get speedways for you.
I mean, our challenge for RDC is first, you know, when you look at it, I think, I was talking to Jeff Saturday, and we have about 35,000 a year is what we have.
I thought you meant you were talking to Jeff Saturday.
Oh, no.
I thought that-
Jeff Peters, I am sorry, I apologize, but I was talking to him. Now, where that changes is if St. Francis loses that appeal, you know, we got 343,000 this spring from them. And come whatever it is, November 10th or whatever, we're gonna get another 343,000. Now, yeah, if exactly, all of a sudden, our budget goes way up. So that's why I'm saying there's a lot of, I guess, question and variability, again,
Variables, yeah.
that we'd have to talk about, because we can't, I don't want to include that money in our budget if St. Francis wins their appeal and we have to give it back. So, you know what I'm saying, that's where I worry about our budget.
Well, the one thing is my recommendation, I think it's, you know, this is where planning comes in. It's very important for you guys to do strategic planning on what you want to do. Obviously coordinate with the city on some other projects. But if, you know, it hits the newspaper that you're going to have this money, and say they lose their appeal and you're going to have this money, you're going to have people lined up to be able to use it. And it's up to you how you want to recommend to using it. But what you could do is have so much money that you spend on projects per year that you could actually have that money, you know, every year recycle it, be 100 or 200,000.
Right.
And then you start thinking about, if you want where your bonds are, this is where you need to talk to Jeff Peters on this, is when that's going to be retired. If you want to strategically go ahead and look at maybe issuing another bond. But you have to kind of look at that from a long-term perspective.
Right, I mean,
This all comes together. Your first budget is going to be a learning experience, and it's not going to be, it'll be a good starting point.
well, and that's what I'm hoping, but that's why I say I'd like to
Yeah.
find out from the mayor if there's a street on a TIF that he would like to, that he's thinking that would be nice to be fixed for 2015 and wants to come to us with this. Dr. Kaiser, we talked about the sign. I want to set it up to where the city council looks at it, they see 15,000 for a sign for Emerson Avenue for the schools that the RDC is going to do. X street is going to spend 45,000 for repaving. The RDC is doing that to help the city. The Parks Department's, we're spending 10,000. They want swings. We're spending 35,000 on our signage grant that Janice is working on. So everything's lined up there, and then we have an extra 25,000 in unspent, or call it emergency allocation or whatever. Kind of a general fund.
And Dan, I think, your city clerk treasurer has done a very good job in getting things transparent, so that you're going to be able to show that to the public. This is what we talked about on Saturday, about transparency and actually showing people what's being done and where that money's being spent. I will, in my report, talk about coordination and cooperation on city budgets, your budgets, on trying to look at a capital improvement program, a 5 to 6 year document. I will kind of spell that out.
Right.
On our second and third reading is October 6th. I would recommend that one of you sit down with the clerk to get the figures for your bond payments and then your reserve that
Right.
you have to have. I don't know what those numbers are. Dan would know what those numbers are.
He kind of, I've looked, he kind of keeps he's got, I want to say we pay around 235,000 a year.
I think that's about right.
Or, so I've looked at them, and I think we probably need to sit down with Dan, but I guess to me, I'll send out emails this week and to the Parks Department, and, go ahead, and to the mayor and Dr. Kaiser saying, hey, is there something you want for 2015 that you'd like help on? What is it? How much would it cost? Brief description. And then, the September meeting, it may be that we meet, sit down, talk about it then. May have to have another meeting, but we'll try to get something lined out, and I can meet with Dan, or somebody can meet with Dan, or a couple of us can meet with Dan, I guess, but we have to do this. This is something that's come up this year, along with all the other stuff, so we're trying to make sure that the RDC is following the law.
On our budget, do we have to come out at the end of the year with the zero balance? Or can we escrow stuff, can we carry it over to the next year? Or do we have to have a zero balance? Whoever
Anyone
wants
who
to answer
knows.
my question.
Okay. Your fund carries over if you don't use it.
You
Okay.
don't lose it.
From a
Are we
budget-
allowed to invest it? We can? Can we invest it?
One thing just to be think about is even come up with a cash balance retention percentage, like in the school budget. We've never gotten there, but, we should have a 10% cash balance in every fund.
That's what I.
Okay, so,
And I think at some point in time, as you're working with Frank, come up with a cash balance
Right.
policy.
rainy day fund.
Yeah, and you can keep it in there when you're talking about state, you follow the state kind of balance with the procedures we do, and they really encourage you to have that balance. You don't have to put it in a rainy day fund, you just have it in your accounts, and I don't know all the details, but, just a cash balance policy would be something or a goal, a target would be good.
Yeah, what I'm getting at is that, we're talking about all these things that we wanna buy, and all of a sudden we've got $200,000, and the next thing you know, we spent $200,000. Well, isn't that lovely? But we don't have anything to carry over. We didn't talk about, let's push this back to here, let's push this back to here, because we shouldn't take, my personal opinion, we shouldn't take the whole budget and just say, wishful thinking, wishful thinking, wishful thinking, wishful, and let's just spend it all.
No, you're absolutely right, and that's where I was saying is, when we lay out our budget, if in that budget, Dr. Kaiser wants $10,000 as part to put up that sign on Emerson Avenue, and we agree the sign's a good deal, then in our budget, that's what we will spend. Now, if we get the mayor wanting a lot, the Parks Department wanting a lot, and all of a sudden we spend it all, then it's our job to say, you know what? We can't afford to repave this road, we can't afford this park project, because we want to keep 15% in cash in case something happens that we need it. So, I mean, that's where I agree with you. I don't want to just say, we got 200,000, let's spend 200,000.
I think we should always keep a reserve
Oh,
of
absolutely, I
some
do.
sort.
In your books, there's the, and I said I don't endorse any one group, disclaimer, but the Humboldt page on Bill 118, which is right after the document on the code, and then you have the IAX document. It talks about you can only, if TIF exceeds more than 200%. There's issues on that.
Right, we can't have too much money, because then we have to turn it back in.
Right. So you need to look at that.
But didn't we just have to file a form on excess valuation and say we didn't have any?
Yes.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying, Janice? So
we do.
we can't build up a ton of it, but yeah, you're right, we can have
Oh,
some.
well, we should have a
I
little,
think you need to involve Jeff Peters in the discussions with yourselves and with Wayne. Jeff,
I agree, he's sharp.
he knows what your reserves are, he knows what your bond payments, your debt service is, he knows when they expire. He's got all of that, and maybe with that group and with help, maybe Dr. Kaiser, you can come up with something that,
Oh, do you guys want me to reach out to Jeff and maybe see if we can set up find some time when we could meet with him, have a meeting with him, get Dan in here, Dr. Kaiser, and get this thing, because as you can see, we're in August and they're doing their budget in
Right.
November, and we have to present. I mean, like I say, it's important that we follow the law, and I mean,
have a work session or something.
that's what I'm
it's a
saying.
work session.
That's what I'm,
Yeah,
but we would have to have that posted as a public meeting, correct?
oh, yeah.
So it'd have to be posted, and that's fine. But we could set it up to where it's a public meeting without comment or whatever, people can come and watch, but it would be us, yeah, that's fine. So I will do that, and I'll keep you guys emailed on it, so we can start figuring out a date and a time, because with fall, we've got football on Friday, we got football on Saturday, and football on Sunday, and Thursday night football, so we're gonna have a lot of issues with timing, so we'll have to figure that
That'll
out.
be, that'll be Sunday night football,
Yeah.
Monday night football.
You're right, I mean, it's,
So
we may
now
have to
you're
shut
boiled
down
down to
government till
Tuesdays.
December, or
Thursday
February.
night football games too.
All right, I can't wait, but,
Kids or the Colts?
I'm talking about everything, I like college kids,
They don't start till 8:30 though.
Oh, okay.
so,
That's a good
Now you
way
only
to
have one
finish
day a
the
week,
week.
Tuesday.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
telling. So is there any comments or questions from the general public? Anybody got anything else to say or want to recommend
On the budget or,
on anything in general?
Whatever you got to talk about.
yeah, the paving project start Monday.
Outstanding, I had somebody ask about that.
What's happening what's not going on 13th? Is it at a stop, or?
No,
It looks like it.
that is a citizens energy project,
Oh.
and they are doing water main replacement. They did it on 11th, 19th, 8th Street, and 13th. Once they put the new mains in, they can't hook them up until they pass certification. So they flow them for about a week or two
446.
to get them to flush out, and then they have to
Right.
pass 2 tests. This 13th Street, they can't get it passed.
My street, well, I'm on Detroit, 11th goes into,
Right.
so part of 11th was torn up by them, and it flowed for 2 weeks, and then they stopped flowing the water, it spilled out in the street, just nice clean water, it was great for capturing, putting out your garden.
Well, see, that hasn't been a problem this year because my rain meter said we had like 4 inches of rain the last
So-
2 days.
They are at their wits' end.
Because I'm sure everybody that lives on 13th is.
Yes. So I think what they're going to do is what they do to Colma, they're gonna blow it out and see if that will correct it. But, that's what's going on. But anyway, paving starts
exciting to see.
We're doing a second project up on Cleveland. We're going to reconstruct Cleveland from Churchman to 13th. We'll tear it down. For the digital city, down on the lower level, there's 27 cases of routers that they bought after they lost the election in 2011 that are property of the RDC.
I know.
Tons of them.
I was thinking about giving the city council and the mayor as Christmas presents. I've talked with Lynn. I'm going to talk. One of the questions that he's popped up or I've asked is, can we even get rid of those? Because we did the loan and the matching grant, and he asked me if, the grant allows us to even get rid of that stuff, or do we have to keep it? So, I mean, we're gonna need to look into that to see if we can, and then if we can, I guess we're gonna have to figure out a way to get rid of them.
That was purchased through a company called Unplugged Cities, which is defunct.
Shocking.
They're unplugged.
You know what I'm saying? I'd like, if I could find somebody to give me $1,000 or $2,000 for all of it, I'd help them load their truck.
You want them?
We, well, no, but we use a company called Five Star. They're one of the largest companies in the state of Indiana working with schools and businesses. If you'd like to, I can connect you with them if
Absolutely.
Rob can research the legality of it, but traditionally, a school entity or a city entity, if you can get an appraised value of it, then you can vote to then dispose of it at this price.
Please do. I'd like, we need to, we need to get it out of the city hall, and there's a bunch of it over at the DPW now. I think they got rid of the telephone poles, or they haven't yet. IPL's supposed to. If they don't, I'll follow up with, I can't think of her name now. I'll follow up with her though and make sure they know we still got a bunch of poles that need to be removed.
If you could check on the legal aspect of that, but for a school entity or any other public entity with your vote, we're allowed to. We have to determine a fair market value.
Right.
5 stars could.
And that may
do
be
for us.
difficult because
We'll check on the statute. Does somebody have the grant documents to see?
I have,
These down here were paid, were not part of the grant.
Not part of the grant, okay.
They paid out by
We'll just
the
look at
developer.
And Craig may know, in terms of disposal of property that's no longer needed for city purposes. The schools, as Dr. Kaiser said, we have a statute, board just declares it of no value, and
We'd have to run that through the board of works, and it has, it's surplus and has no value.
yeah, so you have something similar, so.
yeah, see, that's why, I just, Lynn had said some of those, I mean, it was part of Digital City, and I know we got a matching federal grant. And so that's what we need to find out, because, yeah, we've got them down there, but like I say, we've got 86 units now sitting there that have been taken down. So I need to find out if I can also get rid of those 86 units.
I would need to see what's
Yeah, because we matched the grant, that's what we're paying off now, so. And I'm not sure where you'd find it, I'm not sure if we have it. Again, as the mayor pointed out, there's not a lot, apparently they didn't have paper computers or printers before 2009, so, but that's something that, again, if you can look into, Robert, we need to find out, because I would, if Dr. Kaiser gets me them, I want to have them come in, appraise it, and see what we can do to get rid of it, because it's sat in the city long enough, it's an eyesore, we need to free up the space, let's get it going and get it out of here.
We have, and it's kind of nice that you're talking about signs, because I don't know what's happened, but over the last 2 or 3 weeks, we've had like 3 or 4 new businesses come to Main Street.
I saw that.
Good.
And that the one building across the street from the post office was sold at auction. And a guy bought it for $75,000. So it's nice that they're talking about signs.
And see, that works out well for us, Janice, because there we are, we're talking about reaching out to businesses in the next few months, so.
Is
New
that for the
business
lawn
owner,
company?
RDC
Is that
reaching out.
Is that where the lawn company was originally?
No,
That's where the auto dock was.
Oh.
next to the,
Firearms? Yeah.
it's where the firearms used to be,
Yeah.
that
Gotcha.
long building.
Mm-hmm.
And then the building that you, were talking about where the lawn care was, he's moved out, and the owners.
He put a lot of money in that space.
Huh?
He put a lot of money in that space.
Yeah, but now, there's a company that wants to bring in a microbrewery. We're running through this.
Is that the same guy that we've talked to like 3 or 4 times that's
I
wanted to
think
come
this is a
talk to
different
us?
God, that's the hot thing right now.
He called here, I talked to him a couple times,
Right.
but I didn't know how to put him in touch with somebody that had like 4 or 5,000 square feet.
Yeah, now they're talking about flows and stuff like that.
Oh, sure.
Cool.
So it's just kind of neat that that evolves like that.
You had a comment, Joe?
Yeah, as far as the digital city stuff, from what I remember, even before the ordinance got approved, they bought between $500,000 and $600,000 of equipment on it sitting there. So they already had that bought and purchased. Unplugged Cities, I believe, was just the contractor overseeing all that. They were just the plug people and everything is the way I remember it. And then you start talking about all the stuff that you're doing, it's kind of contradictory to what we heard on Saturday about getting the public involved and everything first, and, to get their input on the signage or whatever else, and get the public support going in that direction. And remember that little thing we did, what everybody thought was great and all that other stuff, by getting the public involved. A lot of the RDCs, from what I've seen, get caught in the icing. They like going after the icing and don't like doing all the other stuff. If you look at the airport, the reason the airport went so smoothly is because the place already had the infrastructure in. RDC does a lot of that other work too, then you start going for the icing on top of that. It sounds like you're going and forgetting some of that stuff. At least if I was a business owner, I wouldn't want you coming in and saying, hey, like I point out, the difference between the Beech Grove comprehensive redevelopment plan and the Speedway comprehensive plan, I got a vote on the Speedway comprehensive redevelopment plan. Beech Grove has a comprehensive redevelopment plan. It should be on the website. There's 200 some pages down in Dan's office. Remember, Mayor, that big book? There is one in place. And that is why you have those things in place. Correct me if I'm wrong, Frank, but that's why you have that in place, so you know where to spend your money because of the guide and the public input and the openness.
That
that's
development plan is so out of date and needs to be redone.
That's why we
So you
hired
can't
Frank.
keep referring back to that old document. And we are talking about getting the city involved and the people that are businesses down on Main Street. Maybe you didn't hear us talking about getting them involved, but we want to start working on the signage ordinance, along with writing the ordinance, and then having a package to present to the tenants downtown. We do want their input.
Well, absolutely, that's what we just talked about, and even to that, I know we posted our meeting Saturday on the city's web. I put it on one of the Facebook blogs. I let people know, and we had 5, maybe 6 non-governmental personnel show up. So, that just shows you the overwhelming support of the city, the people in the city. I look at the library and, I went and did the survey with the library. I was asked to do that. I don't know how their turnout's been, but the truth is, a lot of people don't want to be involved. They like to talk about it, but I have no issue with putting the public out there on this sign issue. That's why I've invited the businesses, and I'll invite the general public to
Absolutely. I just
comment.
think we need to have a polished presentation before we do it.
I'm not sure what we're not doing. I'm not sure what icing we're going after. Can you clarify that?
My understanding, RDCs are they do the dirty work and then.
Well, what dirty work are you talking about us doing?
Well, I would say the infrastructure, as Frank pointed out, that's the main focus that a lot of RDCs do.
We just gave $200,000 or so, $220,000 to Mayor Buckley to transfer to the city to take care of 4 roads, a sidewalk, and an alley, or an alley is part of it. Would that count as the dirty work, or would that be icing?
That's part of the dirty work. Now you're starting to get up there.
Well, give us an idea of another dirty work
What
project that we should
Frank
do.
pointed out there was, first thing you come up with is get the public involved and develop your plan off of that. Then that's where you know where to spend your money and where to go every 3 to 5 years.
Well, and I don't disagree with that, and that's what we will do in the future, but here's the problem. I've got to submit a budget for the mayor and the city council to approve by November 1st. I don't have, and I don't have a plan coming from Frank until September. And then, what was the gentleman's name? I forgot his name that you talked to. Jeff?
Oh,
You know who I'm talking about, Green?
yeah, Green Street.
Green Street. We're gonna work with him and Frank, and we're gonna take the old plan, and we're gonna work to develop a new one, and we will get city, or individual input.
Right.
I mean, that is our goal. I mean, it's not that we're forgetting stuff, but we're doing what we can right now, and my job, or I think our job is to set reasonable goals and reasonable projects that I can come to Mayor Buckley next year and say, Mr. Mayor, we accomplished X, Y, and Z. They may not be pretty, but versus past RDCs, we can point to some success. And that's what Frank talked about, is for an RDC that has had zero success in the past 5 to 7 years, we can actually say, hey, you know, like this fall, I'll be able to say to Mayor Buckley, if I speak at the next meeting, Mr. Mayor, they have started working on the rock pile. They are moving dirt, they are getting the cap in place for the soils contaminated. The brownfields grant's going forward, we are gonna have development. That, to me, is what we should be doing, and that will be a victory that'll be transparent and open.
Answer me this question. How many of you up there, how many RDC meetings did you guys come to before you were appointed?
None. And you know how many city hall meetings I came to before I was appointed? 2 or 3. It doesn't mean that I can't get involved and be educated. I haven't come to any of Dr. Kaiser's school boards. Does he think I'm a dolt for not coming? And no, I talk to him and I try to find out information. And I do look at the past RDC because I've actually gone back and watched the videos of previous meetings. And yes, there was not a lot of success. There was a lot of dysfunctionality, as was a common theme.
Can I make a comment about public involvement, which I guess I'm old enough, I've been doing this for 35 years. You know, you guys are appointed to represent our community. We have 2 school board members that were elected. I really believe in Beech Grove. There's a lot of confidence in our city council and our school board and you folks. And, you know, people have crazy busy lives. You know, they have a great chance to watch it on TV. They watch our school board meetings on TV.
That's a really good point, because you'd be surprised how many people watch.
Yeah, the number of people that say, hey, I saw you on this, or they tell my family members or my cousins, I saw this. You know, Beech Grove is become very, very transparent. And I think it's because, you know, we have a local cable channel that runs through our school, and we're constantly, the mayor's trying to do more, but I also believe the lack of participation is not a lack of caring. I think a big sign of it is the confidence that people have in our community leaders. And I've always felt that. I mean, you know, when we do our business meeting at board meetings, most of the parents, we have 30 parents that come in for our student of the month, and then when we start the business meeting, they go home. And so I don't think we can always take a lack of involvement as not lack of caring. Many of our patrons work 2 jobs, and, you know, it's very difficult, you know,
Right.
they've worked all day long to come to a board meeting. I'm not offended that people don't come to our board meetings because, quite frankly, they can see them once a month on TV. And the same thing with these meetings.
At their convenience.
Right.
Yeah,
And
so
a lot
I
of
don't
them-
think it's lack of involvement. I think it's a matter of confidence in the transparency that they have with what the mayor does and what Dan's doing and what goes on in our community.
That's why I wanted these on TV, so
I
that people
also-
can actually watch.
Right. I also think that our job is to weed out the junk, try to find the best solutions that we can find, and then present it to people. Because sometimes you're asking people for input that they don't know anything about. And it's not gonna get you anywhere if they don't have anything in front of them to say, oh gosh, I never thought about that. I don't know anything about that. Let me look at it. It's our job to help get them there so that they understand what we're talking about, instead of just spinning your wheel and trying to make somebody decide on something that they don't understand.
Well, I think a key thing, when Mayor Buckley was running for office, I had a conversation. He goes, people want their streets paved, their alleys cleaned, and their trash picked up.
Absolutely.
And I think as I see it, and again, I've only been officially back in the community for 7 years, but I see that taking place. Our alleys have been paved, our streets are being paved, and that's what people want. That improves your value. And as we talk about new signage and down the road when grants being given for people to fix up their houses, you know, it's exciting to hear about the new businesses that have come to Beech Grove in the last couple of years. Our assessed valuation is up. You know, we both, all the city entities in the city and the schools and library, we just recently got our assessed valuation. Ours is up $24 million. That's huge for our school corporation.
Absolutely.
That brings additional resources, we can do things, and so, you know, you asked earlier about comments. Saturday was really exciting to me, because I saw a lot of synergy. I saw a lot of the entities coming together and talking about this. And I mean, that's why I'm here tonight. I mean, I just wanted to come and listen and, you know, see the exciting things taking place. I think the future is so bright about our community of Beech Grove, but it's gonna take us, the city, the schools, the library, all of us getting on the same page. And, you know, I said before, I was thinking years back, we gotta get this property out of the TIF district. I have a totally different philosophy now. I think the hospital stays right in the TIF district, it funnels right through the Redevelopment Commission, so you can pave roads, you can give a donation to a school sign. Because you have a lot more flexibility to do things than the city might have and the school might have. So I think as much money we get flowing into the Redevelopment Commission, you know, the mayor and I have talked about an amphitheater down in the park. See, I'm convinced, you know, if the RDC could put forward materials, we have enough people in Beech Grove said, hey, you know, we've got a design, can you come out and help us build it? There's enough people in Beech Grove that we could build an amphitheater. I mean, there's just so many things if we put our resources together and our brains together. And this, you know, I used to hang out in Beech Grove back in the mid-70s, and, you know, we can get our community back to that esprit de corps of everybody working together. And you guys are gonna be a huge catalyst for that, in my opinion.
Well, that's why I've tried to reach out to you and the Parks Department.
Can I finish?
Yes, please.
The thing about it is, going back to what we heard Saturday, and trust me, I've been on the very first redevelopment commission, sitting through all their workshops and everything. The redevelopment commission has to come up with ideas. They have to start off because you have to keep it legal. So you let the public come up here and be willing to make adjustments to whatever the public input is. That's part of the transparency of getting it started. You get up here and say, here's our ideas, like take Greenwood, for instance. The guy developed something for Old Town Greenwood. And 3.5 hours later, it wasn't anything like he put out there. And they interviewed him, and they said, well, what do you think? They tore up your project. He said, we had to have a starting point. And that is the redevelopment's job, is to put out, okay, boom, 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 and then start getting the public involved, getting the public excited. Then as you can see, when the public gets involved, sometimes what the redevelopment thinks isn't what the public wants. And then you have to know what is, Joe Wright was big at saying this, you know, tell me what's legal. Tell me what's legal, and then the redevelopment can get up there and say, this is what's legal, this is what we can do, this is what we can't do, because you're gonna have people saying a lot of different things.
Well, and to that point, that's why Robert comes to our meetings as our legal counsel. The mayor's at our meetings, so he can also offer his opinion. We've now got Dr. Kaiser. I would still like to get the Parks Board, maybe I need to go to theirs, but the RDC is gonna take the public input. As a matter of fact, I think I opened up the final part of the meeting to public input. Why? I'd like to see more of the public here. I understand what you're saying, Dr. Kaiser, about being in the convenience of TV, but I see a lot of people say, well, they're doing this and that, but I think so far this year, we have been very transparent on what we have said and what we have done. A goal was to get down Digital City. It is down. A goal was to start the signage process. We're moving on that. A goal was to get the rock pile developed and get that done. We're moving on that. Those are 3 clear successes that I can point to that we have done. Have we fallen short in some areas? Yeah, but we are also very limited in our amount of our funds because we have a lot of debt that was incurred questionably by a lot of folks. And, you know, I think the future is bright, but the way it's going to work is our quarterback, the mayor, I've got to work with him. We're the linemen. I've got to work with our running back, Dr. Kaiser, because again, one of the things, well, seriously, the thing I kept hearing is the schools. In Beech Grove schools. They're some of the best on the south side. We're drawing kids in from townships that are supposedly better places to live, like Franklin and Perry Township, that their kids are coming to Beech Grove. And that says a lot about your school. And to Dr. Kaiser's point, isn't it easier to live in Beech Grove so that you can put your kid on the bus than to have to drive them here? So, I mean, those are positive things that I look forward to working on. But, you know, that's why I said the first thing we got to do is set a budget. And again, I would welcome anybody that's watching this or wants to come in and say, hey, what about this idea? I have no issues with that, discussing it. But, you know, if nobody comes in and nobody contributes, don't complain about what we come up with.
But one thing on your budget too is, like a lot of RDCs, the end of your stuff is set up on a balloon payment, and at the current rate that it's going, you're not gonna have enough to make the payments.
That's questionable because we got St. Francis, which would be coming on board. We've got Archer Daniels, which has got 25 million more in assessed value coming into the city, which will help them. And the energy company, which is also part of the TIF, and I keep screwing up their name. Can you say it? Kinetrics. We're gonna get some assessed value out of them. And again, that's something part of the budget that Janice talked about. If we have to build up money, and it may be that in 2 or 3 years, if I'm on this, that we're gonna have a meeting and we're gonna discuss restructuring our debt, or we have to restructure our debt. It happens all the time. People buy houses on 525 balloons, or, 327 arms. And guess what? When they get to the end of the 3 years, their payment's gonna go from 400 to 1,400. They refinance, and that may be very well what we have to do. But I hope the people, if I'm not here, we'll put them in a place of structure where they will be able to accomplish that. And that's our goal right now, is to get procedures and structure for the RDC.
We also got the circuit breaker, which is a very real factor too.
Well, I'm not worried, that's the mayor's job to worry about that.
But the encouraging thing, our circuit breaker, again, I've seen our data for 15. The best news I've had in 6 years was this week from the auditor when we got our potential budget for 15. Now, we still have to have a referendum, but my gosh, when they tell you your budget's gonna go up a couple $100,000 after it's gone from 8.5 to 5.4, it was a good day.
What caused it to go up?
Well, ADM, other businesses coming, I don't think they appraised individual houses more, it was businesses coming to Beech Grove. In every business that comes down Main Street and has new signage, and they take the front of their building and they make it nicer, the assessed valuation is gonna go up, which helps keep local property homeowners' taxes down.
Absolutely.
Are you
And-
saying that, are you saying the NEV is going up?
Yes, it is. Again, Dennis, I think you stepped out, our assessed valuation, we just got it, went up $24 million in 1 year.
Well,
That's huge for us.
that is a huge happy note. I've got a lady that's tired, has had a rough day. She's gotta go home and rub her
Feeling
husband's
well.
feet because he's been busy covering the Colts.
She's
So-
not
Oh, I
feeling
think
well.
he's leaving.
Oh, so we got a lady that's happy now and is gonna party. So with that, I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn the meeting for tonight.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you for coming. I